This is Mrs. Cotter. We're going to be working on week 2, day 2. So I didn't put the fluency up here because the fluency are subtraction problems. So you should be able to do those subtraction problems on your own, and then you can check your answers. But I'm going to actually start with a daily task, and we can do the daily tasks together. So finish those fluency problems first before watching this video. So I'm going to get started. It says the weights of an apple and a watermelon are shown below. The apple is 3 grams and the watermelon is 15 grams. The question asks us how much heavier is a watermelon than the apple. So I highlighted in red that word than, because that word than is going to help us to figure out which operation we're going to use for this problem. Usually when we see this word, it means that we're going to be adding or subtracting. So let's read this question again and figure out which operation makes most sense. It says, how much heavier is a watermelon than the apple? So the watermelon we see is heavier, it's 15 grams, than the apple, which is 3 grams. So which operation makes most sense to figure out how much heavier this fruit is? If you said subtraction, you're correct. And this kind of looks like one of our fluency problems that you did. It says 15 minus 3. What is 15 minus 3 going to be? It's 12 grams. And I wrote a sentence using my 12 grams, and I said the watermelon is 12 grams heavier than the apple. Usually when it's asking how much heavier something is than something smaller, it's going to be subtraction. So remember that word than helps us with the operation of addition or subtraction. All right, let's go to question B. And I apologize for this smart notebook over here. It usually goes away when I plug it in to my smart board. But I don't have my smart board, so let's move on. All right, it says B, what is the total weight of 5 identical apples? So remember, identical means the same exact. So how much is 1 apple? So we see that 1 apple is 3. So what I did right here is I made 5 apples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each apple is 3. So we could put 3 and 3 and 3 and 3 and 3 and add them, or we can skip count by 3s. 3, what comes after? 6, 9, 12, 15. So let's write that in 3. Let's try it again. Count with me. 6, 9, 12, and 15. So 5 identical apples equals 15 grams. I'm going to put a G for grams. Good, that's B. Let's look at part C. It says, how many apples weigh the same as 1 watermelon? See if I can make this bigger. There you go. How many apples weigh the same as 1 watermelon? So what I did is I counted by 3s until I got to 15 grams, because that's how much the watermelon equals. So I counted 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. I got to 15, which is what that watermelon equals. And now I can figure out how many apples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 apples weighs the same as 1 watermelon, because remember that watermelon equals 15. And we just had to count by 3s because each apple equals 3 grams. And we kind of did that the same here too. So 1 watermelon equals the same as 5 apples. Nice job. Okay, our next question says, James buys 20 liters of paint to paint his house. He pours the paint equally into 4 buckets. How many liters of paint are in each bucket? Explain how you found your answer. So I'm going to underline this word equally because it's very important. So we have a total of 20 liters. I highlighted in that red, and we also have 4 buckets. So those numbers are very important because we have to use that in our problem somehow. Here are my 4 buckets that I drew. 1, 2, 3, 4. The reason I underlined this word equally is because if we're dividing the paint equally into each bucket, it helps us figure out which operation we're going to use. So remember, we have this 20 liters of paint. We're dividing them equally between each bucket. And it's asking us how much liters are going to be in the same bucket. So remember, this has to have the same amount of liters as this one, and this one. They have to have all the same amount. So it has to be the same exact number in each bucket. So if I say I'm dividing them into each bucket, which operation do you think we're going to use? If you said division, we're correct. Now remember, in a division problem, if I write it out, it has to be our total. So how many total liters do we have? We have a total of 20. And we said our operation is division, so I'm going to make a division sign. And how many buckets do we have? We have 4. So in my other video, I had mentioned that when we have a division problem, we have to look at the smaller number because that's what we're going to count by. So what is my smaller number, 20 or 4? It's 4. So I'm going to count by 4s until I get to my total, which is 20. So let's count. 4 comes next. 8, 12, 16, and 20. And now we're going to count this to figure out how many liters are going to be for each bucket. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 liters. So each bucket is going to have 5 liters of paint. When you see that word equally, or at least pouring it equally, it's always going to be division because he wants to divide his 20 liters of paint into each bucket. So each bucket is going to have 5 liters of paint. And when it says explain how you found your answer, you can write a sentence explaining that equally is another word for divide, and you can explain how we figured out our division problem. All right, let's move on. All right, number 3 says estimate the amount of liquid in each container to the nearest liter. So I underlined that word estimate because we want to figure out about how much water is in each container. So we're going to look at the dark shaded part because that's our water or liquid. So if we look at this, it looks like our liquid is between the number 2 and the number 3. Now when we're estimating, we're looking about which number is it closest to. So do you think that the liquid is going to be closest to 2, or do you think it's closer to 3? To me, it looks like it's closer to 2. So I'm going to write 2 liters. Let's look at the next one. Same thing. The liquid is between 1 liter and 2 liters. Looking at the dark shaded part, which is our liquid, which number do you see it's closest to? It also looks closest to 2. So I'm going to write 2 liters. All right, let's go to the next one. Now this one says how much liquid is in each container. So we're not estimating anymore. We're looking for the exact amount. So again, we got to look at the dark shaded part because that's our liquid. So looking at the liquid, what number does it stop at? it stops at 6 liters. So that is our exact amount because we can see that the liquid goes right to that 6 liters mark. Let's look at the next one. Let's look at the shade part. And I know this Smart Notebook sign is kind of in the way, but we can still see it. And it looks like it's right at 2. So I'm going to write 2 liters because the liquid stops right at that 2 mark. All right, good job. Let's move on. Now this one is a little bit tricky because we have to look around the house to find, or look around your house to find some objects and some containers. So this says, around your house, find 2 objects and estimate the mass of each in grams. Find 2 containers with liquid and estimate how many liters each container can hold. So again, I underline that word estimate because we're not trying to find the exact amount of each object or container. We're looking about how much it might equal. So I put a little hint here. 1,000 grams equals 1 kilogram. So if you had 1,000 beans in a bag, it would equal about the amount of 1 apple. Each bean that's in this bag equals 1 gram. So I'm going to write that down. 1 bean equals 1 gram. And I'm going to put G for gram. So I had the example of this. In my house, I found a teddy bear. And in my hand, I thought, okay, how many beans can I put in my hand to equal the weight of the teddy bear? So I thought about it, and I thought that about 10 beans, which equals 10 grams, because 1 bean equals 1 gram, about 10 beans or 10 grams is going to equal the same weight as a teddy bear. Remember, you're estimating, so you're thinking about how much it might equal. So I said, I think it weighs 10 grams. Now let's look at the liquid one. So remember, for the container, you have to have a liquid for it. So I put about a bottle of Crush is going to equal 1 liter. 1 liter. So I looked in my fridge and I found a 12-pack of Gatorade. So I said, in my house, I found a 12-pack of Gatorade bottles. And I know that if carrying that 12-pack of Gatorade bottles is a lot heavier than a bottle of Crush. So I said, I think that my Gatorade is going to weigh about 5 liters because I know it's heavier. So I think it weighs about 5 liters. So those are my examples. So remember, your objects, you need to find 2 objects to estimate in grams, and you need to find 2 liquids or containers and find it in liters. And you can use these hints. Remember, 1,000 grams equals 1 gram. 1 bean equals 1 gram. So think about how many beans is going to equal your teddy bear or your object, whatever object you choose. And that's going to be how much it is in grams. And 1 bottle of Crush is going to equal 1 liter. So think about if you were carrying a bottle of soda or water in your hand, how is it, your object going to be heavier, or is it going to be lighter, or maybe it equals 1 liter, about the same. All right, let's go on to the last question, the closing question. It says, write a $2 or more summary of the lesson. Each word is worth 10 cents. So they use example. For example, the lesson is about, and it totals 40 cents because each word equals 10 cents. 10, 20, 30, 40. So I use an example, and I didn't use the example that we learned today. I used an example that we've learned in 3rd grade. And my summary says, this lesson is about learning how to read a digital clock using the hour and minutes hand. Also, it's about how to add 2-digit numbers. Now, my total equal to $2.60. Remember, your summary has to equal either $2 or more. It cannot equal any less. So let's count to figure out, to make sure that it equals $2.60. So let's count by tens. Remember, each word equals 10 cents. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, $1. $1.10, $1.20, $1.30, $1.40, $1.50, $1.60, $1.70, $1.80, $1.90, $2. $2.10, $2.20, $2.30, $2.40, $2.50, $2.60. So my summary equals $2.60. All right, and that's all for week 2, day 2. I'm going to remind you that you also have a Zern account. You can go on your Zern account and you can work on that because I can check who's working on it. Also, you can also go on ST Math and log in that way too. So you can work on some ST Math and finish your puzzles as well. But remember, I can monitor ST Math and Zern, so make sure that you're working on that. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.